This is the Brew Party Podcast, episode number 100. That's right, we made it, folks. Triple fucking digits. We're almost 3 years in. We're less than a month away from year 3 of the Brew Party. This is episode 100. It's one of my favorite interviews that I have ever done on the show with one of my favorite people that I've ever been able to get on a show. One of my favorite people in general. That's right. It's comedian Carmen Morales at The Funny Carmen. We're like on any social media, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow her on Twitch. Check out her Twitch streams as well. She has a new special coming out on HBO in April. HBO MAX. Carmen Morales, The Funny Carmen, touring comedian, one of the funniest fucking comedians out right now. I don't care who you are. You would love her stand-up. Check her out. And she joins the show to talk about comedy. It's not really any sports on this episode. This one's for me, okay? As if any of the other ones aren't for me as well. But we kind of get into that a little bit on episode 100 featuring Carmen Morales. I don't know what I want to call it yet. We'll figure that out once I'm editing it. But Carmen joins the show. We talk about her comedy career. She's the second woman ever to work the door at the Comedy Store. We talked about what that was like, what it mean, what that meant to her. Obviously, getting on stage, performing during the pandemic, performing on the online, the Zoom type shows, that stuff as well. A lot of us just fucking around, having a good time, but really a fun conversation. Gets a little nerdy, like really into some inside comedy stuff. So if you're a stand-up comedian fan, this is the interview for you. I cannot thank Carmen enough for taking the time to come on the show. I teased it for so long that I wanted something special for episode 100. I really do think this is something special. I think this is a great episode. Carmen is awesome. Check out her stuff on HBO Max coming early April. This is her big break, as you'll hear her talk about it, the biggest thing she's ever done. But she's performed anywhere and like you could think of across the United States. We talk about some of her weird gigs. We talk about her favorite gigs. Just it's an awesome stand-up comedy conversation and look into the career of the one and only Carmen Morales. So episode 100 of the Brew Party Podcast is here. We had to get a chug in on the open. We had to do it. Follow us on social media. We are at the Brew Party on Instagram. We're at the Brew Party on Twitter, at the Brew Party Podcast on Facebook. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, please like the video down below and then subscribe to us up there somewhere. I don't know. Like and subscribe. YouTube.com/The Brew Party. If you're listening to my gorgeous and luscious voice and not looking at my ugly face as well, I don't blame you. Some would say I've got a face for radio. Podcasts, wherever you hear podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or you can just go to www.thebrewparty.com. It's got links to all of our episodes and ways to listen. It's got links to all of our social media. It's got ways to support the show. Click on any of the links in the description for Instacart, Buzzsprout, and of course BetUS Sportsbook for some offers with our promo codes or with our directory links to get some nice discounts on stuff. Again, I just want to say thank you. This has been one of my favorite things. Obviously, it's not the best thing I've ever done. My son, of course, is the best thing. Jury's still out on it. We'll see how he turns out. He's not even 2 yet. Anyway, this is one of the favorite, the Brew Party. I can't believe it sometimes when I think about it. It's like, it's not the biggest thing ever, of course, which I've never been aiming for. I do this to have a good time, and if you tune in every week, I genuinely appreciate you. If this is the first time you've ever tuned in, I genuinely appreciate you. If you're on and off, if you've supported the show in any way, I just cannot express to you how much it means to me. I'm some dude in the middle of Champaign, Illinois, yelling into my microphone and talking to people that I sometimes have no business fucking talking to. And this is another one. This interview it makes me so thankful that I even get to do this. I mean, I met Carmen through video games, and like you'll hear the Funch Bunch, our mutual friend Ron Funchich with Funchess, which is another person I cannot believe that I get to talk to on a daily basis. And there have been so many interviews on this show, so many people on this show that mean so much to me, so many people that listen and everything. If you've had anything to do with this, if you follow us on social media, if you've liked or retweeted, if you've listened to one episode, if you listen to every episode, I don't care. I appreciate the absolute shit out of you. It's episode 100. I'm shocked I got to fucking 100 episodes. I could have easily quit this 2 or 3 months in when I ran out of ideas and it was the middle of the pandemic and I couldn't get a guest. At a certain point, I ran out of ideas and I bit off more than I can chew. At certain points during this podcast, it feels like I bit off more than I can chew, and I feel like I slacked on certain things. I know I slacked on certain things in this podcast. So if you stuck through it and you're still here, I genuinely appreciate it. Trying to keep this tight schedule going. I'm getting everything out on schedule so far this year in 2022. I know it's still early, but we made it a month. God damn it. But I mean, this episode, it's probably not going to be a lot of sports. I don't think we're going to do a Maloney's Money Line on Friday. So maybe I'll release something Friday with a little maybe Super Bowl preview, little recap of last weekend, fucking a week later. I want to talk about it a little bit. We're already getting to about 8 minutes, and I really don't want to keep this too long because me and Carmen went about an hour, and I really want to make sure everybody gets to that because it was just incredible. Just such a fun conversation, and these are some of my favorite episodes I get to do on the show. Is, you know, obviously it's a sports podcast, but people assume that's all I do, which it is. Most of what I do is consume sports, but I've loved stand-up comedy ever since I was a little kid, and my mom, you know, showed me, you know, people like Jim Gaffigan, and we would listen to the Bob and Tom show every morning, and she still listens to it religiously, and just the comedians I would find from there, and growing up and finding more people you like, and you know, I'm truly grateful that I found Carmen, and then, you know, I actually saw her on a podcast. The one of Joey Diaz's podcast, some YouTube videos before I, you know, met her and played a few video games with her and stuff before I realized and put it together who she actually was. But she's a badass. She doesn't take any shit from anybody. She will roast pretty much anybody who walks in front of her, and I mean, you can tell just from talking to her, she's hilarious. I cannot wait for you guys to hear this interview with the one and only Carmen Morales. Check her out. Check out her new special on HBO. Subscribe to her podcast, No Sir. She has comedians and stuff like that. People come on and talk about shit that they don't like, which is always a fun conversation. But seriously, I can't thank her enough for coming on the show, but, you know, just being a friend. And I don't know. It's really cool. I've been a comedy nerd, a stand-up comedy fan for a long time, and to have somebody like her, you know, be close and be as cordial and be as nice as she has with me and fuck around as much as she has been, it just means a lot. It's really cool seeing some inside baseball, inside comedy stuff that Carmen and, you know, Ron too let us into as we are part of the Funch Bunch. But I wanted to do some conference championship stuff, which it's already been 10 minutes, so I'm going to keep this as short as possible. But I was super hard on the fucking Packers a couple weeks ago. I think I got to be just as hard on the Chiefs. Like, AFC Championship game, this is the 5th one in a row. Now you only have, one Super Bowl title to show for it. Patrick Mahomes is getting super Aaron Rodgers-y, ladies and gentlemen. I know we just took a hard turn into sports where I really said we weren't doing sports, but I'm going to do it quick because I can't not talk about it because I have a couple things I need to talk about before we get into Carmen, but I have to do it quickly, and I'm stalling right now. But the Chiefs only had 82 yards of total offense in the second half and 3 points after being up 21-3 at one point in the second half. They could have probably scored a touchdown at the end of the first half, or at the very least kicked a field goal. They were on the fucking Bengals 1 yard line. Andy Reid decided to draw a play to throw the ball to Tyreek Hill 3 yards behind the goal line with 2 seconds left on the clock, which you absolutely have to get in. Andy Reid later admitted that was his fault. He probably should have called a different play. Also, he calls a timeout and then challenges a play, losing his third timeout, which fucking Patrick Mahomes tried to call at the end of the second half, which they didn't have. Shades of Michigan, the Fab Five in the tournament. Give him a technical. But, I'm not trying to take anything away from the Bengals here because they're the Bengals defense, after just getting their fucking asses handed to them in the first half. They were down 21-3 at one point. It just seemed like anytime the Chiefs touched the ball, they were going to score a touchdown. In the second half, the Bengals dropped 8 into coverage. They start bringing a lot more pressure. I mean, Hubbard was incredible in the second half. Hendrickson got there a lot as well, putting a lot of pressure on Patrick Mahomes, actually sacking him. It was incredible to see, how much time Patrick Mahomes had, because that's what we see in these games. He has all the time in the world, and then he finds one of his incredible fucking weapons out there, finds enough time to get open, and to see him actually, dance around for a minute and then actually get sacked was weird. It was weird, but credit this Bengals defense for keeping, the Bengals kept Cincinnati in check. The Bengals kept Kansas City in check and kept Patrick Mahomes. Like, he admitted that he may have got a little too aggressive. He ignored his checkdowns, which happens. It seems like the Kansas City Chiefs get a little greedy sometimes in these big games, but obviously you're not worried if you're, I don't know if you're worried if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. You have the Super Bowl from 2 years ago to still hang your hat on, but Andy Reid's now been to 9 conference championship games as a coach, and he has 1 Super Bowl to show for it. Obviously, I don't have shit. I'm not anybody. Like I said a couple minutes ago, I'm just some idiot in the middle of Champaign, Illinois, yelling into this microphone. But something to think about. Absolutely something to think about. If you're a Chiefs fan, this one hurts, and it hurts. You were up 21-3. You had an 18-point lead in the AFC Championship game on your home field, and you lose. But I said it last week on the show. Help us, Joey B, your only hope. He fucking did it, dude. He is the coolest guy on the goddamn planet. He had the balls. He drives him down in the second half, brings them all the way back. Jamar Chase scores a touchdown. Had that anytime touchdown scorer as well. Love it. You hate to see CJ Uzomah go down with the injury. You hope he's able to at least go in 2 weeks versus the Rams in the Super Bowl. But holy shit, guys. I'm sure everybody had the Bengals and the Rams in the Super Bowl this year. Bengals, first time in 33 years. First time since 1989. Before I was even born, that the Bengals are there. Joe Burrow is absolutely incredible. Jamar Chase was incredible. T. Higgins had 106 yards. He was there all game. You knew the Chiefs were going to double Jamar Chase and try to take him away as much as possible. Credit Joe for not trying to force anything like Patrick Mahomes did in the second half, like Aaron Rodgers did a couple rounds ago as well. He took what the defense fucking gave him. He had multiple times where he escaped, absolutely, give me sacks, you thought he was going down, and kept the drive alive. But wow, the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, Zach Taylor. took this team to the Super Bowl. Credit to the Bengals. I'm going to be rooting my fucking dick off for the Bengals. I cannot wait for the Super Bowl, and I'm not going to be upset if the Rams win. I mean, it's two very not hateable teams at all. I love Matt Stafford, and that he's finally, getting his due. We'll talk about that game here for just a second, and we're getting you into this interview, I promise. So the Rams, 20-17 over the 49ers. There was all this talk about Jimmy G all week and how he's shitty, he's not a good quarterback. Last two drives for the 49ers were absolutely abysmal. Deebo Samuel gets 0 touches, I think, in the second half, which just can't happen. Cannot happen if you're the 49ers. The 49ers season ends on a interception by Jimmy G on a pass that was flipped up like this, where he's trying to avoid a sack, which was, I don't know. I mean, credit to the 49ers, because I don't know if a lot of us thought they would even make it to the NFC Championship, and there was a lot of shit talked about Jimmy G, which, I mean, you could say rightfully so, which, yes, I mean, he wasn't the best. He made a lot of not great plays, but, I mean, Matt Stafford made a couple, bonehead plays. We're a Jaquiski Tart dropped interception away from the 49ers being in this Super Bowl as well, but it sucks because Jimmy G is going to be the story of why they lost, and, I want to say rightfully so after those last two couple drives, but it's tough to put this all on one guy. Credit the Rams, and Cooper Kupp is incredible. I think he scored both of his touchdowns on third downs. Like, he had 8 targets and I think 7 catches on third down. I mean, Triple Crown winner. What more can you say about him? It's like, the ball's going to him every time, and he still catches it, and he still finds a way to make the play. Odell Beckham Jr., over 100 yards receiving. I think he had like 8 catches or something like that. To have him as your number 2 option is absolutely insane for the Rams. I mean, he was right. Credit Odell Beckham Sr. for getting him out of Cleveland. And what a terrible day to be a Cleveland sports fan. The Cincinnati to the Super Bowl, and Odell is making plays and going to the Super Bowl with the Rams. I mean, we'll see. This is going to be, I feel like it's going to be a defensive battle in the Super Bowl. I mean, the Rams defense has been absolutely incredible. Excuse me, rubbing my eye here. I mean, Von Miller, what he's been able to do. Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald. Jalen Ramsey kind of got punked a little bit on Sunday, but not too bad. I think he had a dropped interception, but Anyway, the Rams, the Bengals, it's maybe the most likable Super Bowl we've had in a while, as far as, not really a hated team in there. I'm sure if you're rivals of either of these teams, you'll yell at me and say that I'm wrong. But anyway, it was an incredible conference championship weekend. It's been an incredible NFL playoffs. It is the best fucking drama on television. I love the NFL. I can't get enough of it. I'm sad that there was only one NFL game. But yeah, that is my conference championship recap, which was really not a lot for San Francisco and the Rams, and really you didn't really, I didn't know what Sean McVay was doing that whole time, challenging things that he probably should have challenged, wasting all his timeouts. Like, there was 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, I think, and they had no timeouts. It might have even been the third. I don't know. Questionable decisions, but he gets it done. He got the 49ers monkey off his back after they had won the first 2 meetings, and they really probably should have won this one. But Rams advance. We'll see how it goes. I'm rooting for the Bengals. I got some Rams friends that might not be too happy to hear that, but I just can't not root for Joe Burrow. He's the man. He's maybe the most likable quarterback in the NFL. Definitely up there. Last thing I want to say, Bears press conference. They introduced Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles as the GM and head coach today. Apparently, Eberflus gave the same speech as Joe Judge like from 2 years ago when he was hired as the Giants. If that's true, I don't know. I haven't watched the video fully. I probably should have done that before I hopped on here. Ryan Poles said they're gonna take the North and never give it back. Love that. Inject that shit right into my veins. Justin Fields also spoke to the media. I think it was after they introduced and said he was excited to get to work. He's happy that he'll be named the starter from day one, so he can feel like more of a leader in the locker room. He won't be anxious or whatever to take over that role or feel like he's stepping on anyone's toes. He's excited that Eberflus is a defensive guy and can help him out with coverages. He's also excited to work with Luke Geddes, the offensive coordinator that the Bears hired, that they bring over from Green Bay, the former quarterbacks coach in Green Bay, because he'll have, he said it. He said he's excited to work with an offensive coordinator that'll only have to focus on offense. Obviously he's talking about Nagy there, who called plays for the Bears. This past season, his entire tenure, having to focus on the whole team and then still try to call plays. So Eberflus said he's going to let the D coordinator call plays. He's going to let the offensive coordinator call plays because he said it's not the head coach's job. Other than, I got to go back and watch the press conference from what I've seen. If it really is the exact same as Joe Judge, I don't love that. Not great. We all saw how the Joe Judge shit worked out. Shout out to my Giants friends, but this has gone on longer than I wanted it to. It's been 21 minutes, but fuck, man. I'm so thankful for you all. So happy to be here. Excited that I actually took this leap and made myself do this shit. But this is the Brew Party Podcast. I'm Andy Hopper. This is episode 100 of the Brew Party Podcast. Thank you so much for listening, watching, however you're consuming the content. I genuinely appreciate you. Get us wherever you get your podcasts: Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Pandora, all that good stuff, or just go to www.thebrewparty.com. Subscribe and like this video on YouTube, youtube.com/thebrewparty. We're on Twitter and Instagram @thebrewparty. We're on Facebook @The Brew Party Podcast. Episode 100. Let's get you into this interview with the one and only Carmen Morales. Check her out. Her new special on HBO, Entre Nos, early April, and then you can check her out any of her comedy dates on the road. She's doing stand-up all across the country, and as well as her podcast, No Sir, I Don't Like It, with Carmen Morales. Check it out. Let's get you into this interview with Carmen. Episode 100 of The Brew Party. Thank you for being here. You guys know sports betting season is in full swing. We've got the NFL playoffs are here. The NBA is back. The NHL is here. College basketball. The list goes on. You need a sports book to play some action on all this stuff, huh? How about you head over to BetUS Sportsbook. BetUS.com. That's BETUS.com. Enter promo code The Brew Party for 125% sign-up bonus. You bet, you win, you get paid. BetUS Sportsbook, they've been in the sports betting industry for over 30 years, paying their customers out quickly with awesome bonuses and with a lot of integrity. Who doesn't love a little integrity, am I right? They've got a race book. They've got a casino. They have live betting. They have props. They have futures. Literally, any bet type you could imagine, they have it over at BetUS Sportsbook. So go to BETUS.com. Enter promo code The Brew Party for 125% sign-up bonus and start getting paid. BetUS Sportsbook. You bet, you win, you get paid. Promo code The Brew Party for 125% sign-up bonus. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here once again, episode 100. That's right, 100. Triple digits, baby. I've teased it for months that I wanted to do something special for episode 100. So I got somebody that is very special to me and is going to be special to all of you. Maybe a little bit special herself. I'm joined by the very funny comedian, host of the No Sir podcast, Carmen Morales joins the Brew Party podcast for episode 100. Big Natties, how are you doing?
Hi, what's up, Fudge? So lovely to see you. Lovely to be heard. Lovely to be part of your. I'm honored. I'm honored you would have your centennial episode with Lil Omi. That's very sweet.
Absolutely. Well, I've been wanting to get you on the show, and I figured what would be better than episode 100. It was hilarious when I texted you. Go, I don't know shit about sports. I said, don't worry about it. Speaking of that, so what were your thoughts on the games this week? Anyway.
Some of them were won, some of them were lost, and some of them were worth watching.
That'll be the show. Thanks for tuning in, guys. No, anyway, Carmen is a hilarious touring comedian that you can see all over the country. You can find her on her podcast, No Sir, I Don't Like It, which I have right here, a sticker, which we need to decide what to do with it. I think we put it on the wall here behind me, and then hopefully it'll come off later, right?
Yeah, the podcast that makes you lose your deposit, ladies and gentlemen. No, Sir Pod.
Here, I'll put it on my mini fridge. You can't see it, but it's going right here on the
nice
next to me. But anyway, let's talk about you. So you have a special coming out on HBO, a nice little
HBO. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Home Box Office Network.
Yeah.
HBO Max specifically.
HBO MAX.
Mm-hmm.
I told you before the show, I'm not going to try to say what is it? Entre nos.
Entre nos.
There we go. I know I was going to sound white as fuck when I did it anyway, but that's coming out in early April, right? Let's talk about that a little
bit. Early April. It comes out. I'm really excited about it. It's the first, big television thing I've ever done, so this is it. The people who are jump in now get to see me, they get to watch my dreams come true, because after this everything is superfluous, but this is the big one. This is the big holy shit, it's happening, oh my god. Yeah.
What was that?
You're witnessing somebody's dreams come true. It's pretty cool.
It's incredible. I cannot wait to watch. But so what was that like? Was there a true pinch me moment for you when you were like, holy fuck, this is actually happening? Like, was that, stepping onto the stage? Was that walking out to the stage? Or maybe when you found out you were getting it?
Well, I mean, the thing about making anything industry-wise is a lot of times it never sees the light of day. So I'm pretty cynical. I don't know if cynical is just so much as trepidatious to be because I know I have friends that they get a call back on an audition, they got to tell everybody about it. And I've always kind of been the opposite of that, where there's this old Leonardo da Vinci quote that I always kind of resonated with me, which is the supreme unfortune is when theory outstrips performance. So it's a very roundabout way of saying don't talk about it, be about it. So I always wanted it to be something major, just because there's so much narcissism in my field as it is. I try not to look or feel like that. A lot of that's gross. So, but yeah, this is the biggest thing ever, and it's super cool, and I'm very excited about it. And I think the moment it became a thing was probably day of. The week of it, there were moments of where it was oh my god, oh my god. I think probably the first one was when I got off the plane in New York City. Okay, they're not gonna fly me here to not do it, right? Probably not gonna waste a flight for Carm to come have a good time. So, that was probably the big moment. But then from when I landed in New York till probably about 2 hours or 3 hours before the show, it was it was like an Uncut Gems movie of just thing after thing after thing I had to do. It was just nonstop. So I didn't really have time to be man, my dreams are coming true. All that shit happened afterwards.
So you're just doing a bunch of blow and gambling.
I wish that I would be enjoying it.
So, as from the joke writing process, for you said this is the biggest thing you've ever done. What goes into that? Is this a mix of the greatest hits? Is this a bunch of new stuff? How do you kind of attack that from a joke writing material or just your material you do on stage? Because I know you're good with crowd work as well, and you've probably never met a person that you couldn't just fry the fuck out of. So,
I mean, there's probably been somebody that's just like they just didn't give me enough to work with for it to be funny. So, I mean,
so
but
it's
also
more of a
yes,
problem. It doesn't reflect on you; it's them.
yeah. Sorry, you're so boring. I can't even make fun of you. God. And that's probably what I would have said anyways. But yeah, I'm in kind of a unique position because when they asked me to do this, they had asked me already to do something else as well. So it was like, so I was saying yes to basically two things as long as everything worked out, you know. So with that in mind, like, you know, you could do, there's still like it doesn't matter as much anymore because of how like media is consumed, but the old like stand-up tradition was to do an hour. Like that's the big thing. So like I have an hour that I want to do, but these sets are shorter than that. So then I basically was like, okay, well, I'll work backwards then. I'll have everything that I want to do for the hour, and then everything else I kind of will like try to piece together to get however much time they need, you know, and create a narrative and kind of an arc or something like that to kind of guide people through it. And then so yeah, so it was just kind of like a trickle down where like, oh, these are all the jokes I definitely want to do in an hour because this is like the diagram of thought I would like to have. This is super fucking nerdy. I'm so sorry to your listeners.
No, I love it. This is I'm really nerdy for this shit. I love hearing about it. So fuck them. This is my 100th episode.
Daddy wants a podcast sometimes too.
God damn it.
I give and I give. I can't have a podcast. I can't have an episode for me.
I can't do one for me, huh? One for me.
It's all take. I can't get nothing.
Forbid. Jesus Christ. Like I don't pick every fucking guest in every episode, huh?
So, but normally you would like, you know, just put time together and then build up. But I'm doing it backwards because like there's a thing that I know that I want to make. So that has just become its own entity. All those pieces together become like one long show as opposed to a bunch of jokes, like a kind of like a Lego set. So you got these little pieces, these things, these colors go together, you know, and you kind of piece it all together. This makes like a story. Like eventually you use all these building blocks and then boom, you got the Millennium Falcon or whatever, right? It's the same kind of idea, but I was doing it backwards and like, okay, so if I have all of these blocks, I want to make the Millennium Falcon and then I want to make, you know, a fucking Minotaur and then I want to make a cat. Like, so as if I took all this all of those blocks and then I just kind of used what I needed for the big one, then used what I needed for the middle, and then what you would be seeing first is this 15 minutes that I put together.
Cool. So, like, when you know so we talked about ADHD and you made fun of me for my severe case.
Oh, it's because game recognizes game, baby.
Exactly. Do you think about that when you're building a set, like trying to fucking start off with like a heater?
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, everybody's got a different approach, you know. But I mean, I'm kind of hard hitting regardless of where I am in my set, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm gonna come hard regardless.
Oh, I think Natties knows a thing or two about coming hard. Let me tell you. So that is awesome. So it's gonna be on HBO Max in April. Look out for that. Carmen Morales, Entre Nos. 15 minutes. She loves it. Let's talk about, I mean, you talked about this is the biggest thing you've ever done. You've been in comedy for quite a bit. You are
I mean, I've been on things in things like
right.
I've had my stand up on Hulu and like I was in the Showtime documentary about the Comedy Store. Like I've been in things, but this is like the biggest thing for me stand up wise. I guess is what I mean.
So let's talk about just where it started. Like when did you know you were funny? When did you? Excuse me. I already got the beer burps. This
Nice.
Pretty well. When did you? When
did you start comedy? When was it? Can we end this podcast with you puking on the microphone? Is there any way we could time that?
Let's do it. I have plenty of beers there. We can get myself there.
The more important question is, do you have a backup mic?
Yes, I actually no, I do. I had to think about that for a second. I do have one. It's not as nice, but I have a backup one. When did you know you were funny? When did you like really like know like okay, yeah, I'm going like into stand up. I'm doing this hard. I'm committing. I don't want to do anything else.
I mean, the funny thing is, I always used to. I didn't have any like I have a half sister, right, and she's like 12 years older than me, so she was kind of out when I was like 6. So I was basically like an only child. So, and my dad was like super paranoid that I was gonna get kidnapped. So I didn't really get to hang out with a lot of kids. So I was always just around adults.
Yeah,
So I learned how adults were funny before I knew like how kids were funny.
that makes a lot of sense.
So so I was inappropriate at a very young age. And it was just because that was what I was around. And like, and a little kid being crass is funny to adults a lot of times, as long as they're not like, not too stuffy or whatever. We see a little kid say fuck, it's fucking funny. It's just
Oh,
funny.
I love it.
So yeah, I was kind of like always that kind of asshole kid, because I used to have to, you're dealing with a dad that's mentally ill. You gotta be quick on your feet, buddy. You don't know who the fuck you're coming home to, so you gotta be ready to combat whatever's gonna come at you. So I was always kind of had to be on my toes as a survival mechanism. So then it just kind of like bled in, socially, where I would
Sure.
just use those things to kind of like survive social situations. So I've kind of always been that, like, I used to always get in trouble in school for mouthing off, and always had fucking something smart to say. Like I was about like, no
Yeah.
wonder my dad beat me. I was kind of a dick,
I, I just imagine a young you just talking in the what the fuck is going on? And just how we fuck around
Or they're
like
just
all the
sassing
time.
me, and it's just like, I'm sorry, you're boring. You're the one that's supposed to be teaching me something, and all I'm learning is how to make kids fall asleep. Like, come on, bud. You do your job. Like,
You do your job.
always. I was always in trouble. And I also didn't take any shit, really. Like, whether it was a teacher or like this boy used to like try to cut in front of me in line, and nah, bitch, you got fucking nail marks in your arm. Get the fuck out of the way, bro. I'm playing 9 square, bitch. Like, fuck off, Fabian. It's my turn. So yeah, so
Fabian? No, you can't get pushed around by a dude named Fabian.
no, he got pushed around by me eventually, because it was like, fuck you.
Fuck you. Fuck you, Fabian.
Fuck you, Fabian.
Did you? So would you say? I know this is such a like. I
But I
hope this
didn't
is-
lean into it. Your second part of that question is, I didn't lean into it until I was probably like, I think I was 21 or 22. I was like selling timeshare over the phone. I was fucking working at a
Big
nonprofit
organization,
organization,
dude.
going to school full time, working at my mom's plumbing company in the office and shit. Like, I was
That's right there. That's
yeah. I was fucking, and then it was weird because my boss at the timeshare place like pulled me into her office and was kind of like, "Hey, what are you doing here? Like, this is where people end up. This isn't where people start." And I was like, well, this is horrible for morale, by the way. If you want me to go out there and sell more fucking timeshare, this is not how you encourage your employees. Then I told her, I was like, well, I've always wanted to be a stand-up. And she goes, oh, my next door neighbor's fiance is a comedian. And I was like, oh, who is it? And she named my friend Arnie, and it was now my friend Arnie Ellis. And then I looked him up, and I was like, I don't know this fucking guy. Like, to me, even at 22, I didn't know there was a middle class of comedian. I thought you were just handpicked by the entertainment gods and just became one. You were hatched that way. And then I went to an open mic, and I made a deal with myself. If I get any laughs, I'll come back. One of those. Didn't have anything prepared. Was just immediately riffing, lying my ass off, making up a story about my husband. At the end of it, then I just go, I've never been married. I wouldn't waste my time. And then like the whole 5 minutes of this story about me and my husband meeting at a Bennigan's and how we fell in love and stuff. And then the big punchline was like, nah, it's all bullshit.
You could laugh.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I went back.
She said, "Of course." Yeah.
And then Yeah, probably like a year in, maybe I got just super sad, and because I wasn't being honest on stage, I was kind of just doing an impression of what I thought, especially female comedians were supposed to talk about. Like I was doing a. I was doing jokes about vibrators and shit, and I had never even used one. You know, it's just disingenuous. I'm just on stage talk. Yeah, exactly. Doing an impression of a, you know, a dildo, like a cheap
Is that
one.
right? Did I do it right?
Is yeah, right, ladies? I'm really asking. I don't know how this works. And then I got real sad, and then I stopped doing it for about a year, but I would still go to open mics. I would still go to all the shows and watch everybody fuck my girlfriend in front of me. Like, I would comedy cuckold myself for a year because I was so sad. And then just go to open mics and watch everybody else do their fucking stupid, Uber jokes and whatever. Well, this is pre-Uber, so it'd probably just like, dating is hard, but like 15 years ago, and whatever version of that was happening. Nobody likes me. That's why I'm here. Watch everybody do their version of that and not get to do mine. And then one night I was at an open mic, and my friend Ian Gutowski was like, "Hey, why don't you go on stage and do that goofy character that you do outside for us?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't know. I'm not really doing this right now. I don't." And then he was like, "Just fucking do it. There's 6 people here. Who gives a shit?" And then I went on stage and I just was being my goofy self as doing this character bit about a black preacher doing a sermon about tits and how they bring life and joy to people, and
just have to hear the bit.
I'm not doing the bit now. Now it's incredibly problematic now. I mean, again, this was 15 years ago. You were allowed to do voices. You can't really yeah. Hit me up after. I'll send you a link.
So you do this. How long were you doing comedy before you started working at the Comedy Store? We have to mention this off the top. You're a legend. Absolute legend.
Second door girl in all of Comedy Store history.
Oh, I thought you were the first. But
cool, sorry.
Too.
Yeah. Not to a guy that likes to gamble, it's not. So I get why you're disappointed.
No, I took you. It's like we're betting on the horses. I took you to place. It's okay. By the way, speaking of gambling, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, but somebody apparently got both of the NFL games on Sunday, like the exact correct score.
Oh, wow.
So he bet $20 and won like $500,000.
Holy shit!
It hasn't been confirmed if it's real or not.
Wow.
But it's on Twitter if you look it up, because that's what we were talking about all weekend. Neither of us are wrestling fans. Our fucking friends love wrestling. The Royal Rumble was this past weekend. Mm-hmm. So we got in on a pool. Like $5 turns into $40 a piece. We get Carmen to do it. And of course she's like, "What is this? I've never gambled before. Like, how does this work?" And then she wins right away. She, "Pay me, motherfuckers. Where the fuck's my money?" So she stumbles her way into $150, which that's a side story. Really has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but congratulations.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the Comedy Store. Like, how long were you in comedy? Like, when, what was it like working at the Comedy Store? It's just such a legendary place for anybody that's a fan of comedy or whatever. Just let's talk about that for a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it was like working in a time capsule in the sense that like that rich history that everybody talks. It's there. It's like it never goes away. So every time you walk into it, you can there's kind of like a feeling there where it's just like, oh, what's going on? This place seems kind of cool. Like, I don't know if it's the fucking ghosts or whatever. I don't know. There's
haunted.
Yeah, I mean it's been on several ghost hunting shows. I can't confirm. At night when I would clean, because I'm not a big ghost person, and I think ghosts talk to people that are like talking to ghosts all the time. So I would never I'm not striking up conversations, but I'm also not rude. I don't know if they're past comedians that got stuck there. There was a legendary when they were doing the strike, a comedian jumped off of the hotel next door because he had crossed the picket line and everybody called him a traitor, blah blah blah. So he like leapt off of and they wouldn't work him at the store. He was like, so it was a petty suicide, if you will. He jumps off the hotel into the parking lot of the Comedy Store and dies. So I don't know if that guy's there. So when I would be cleaning up the main room or turning off all the shit, it'd be like 3:00 in the morning, pitch dark. I just say, good night, everybody. Like, I just say good night just in case, you know. I don't, again, it's just always polite. I'm just trying to, you know, if there's anybody there, I don't want them to think I mind that they're there. So
what was working the door like? Because like I said, I don't know if I said this while we were recording, but you're 5 foot and a half.
Listen, I got 6 foot energy though, dude. I got 6 foot energy.
Absolutely, but tickets, please. Oh, you're muted, Carm. Uh-oh.
There's only a couple times that people have actually tried to step over me. So, but yeah, for the most part, it's oh, let me fix this. Sorry. For the most part, there we go. For the most part, it's not bad because everybody's there. It's also like a vibe thing. Well, plus when I would work the door, a lot of times I would be high on mushrooms, so always in a great mood. Always in a great mood. You know, I wasn't tripping at work, but it would be like a microdose. You know, or you know, you take just enough to not hate the general public, and then so when they'd ask you 700 times in a night which way they are, where's the bathroom, I don't hate saying it because I'm all like, we're all people. It's right around the back. Welcome to the motherfucking Comedy Store. Right?
By the way, you guys need any mushrooms?
I wouldn't sell at work. You don't sell where you eat. You know, so
absolutely.
But you know, meet me at that street corner, and just kidding. Can I walk you to your car? I'm kidding, but it wasn't bad. It was pretty simple. You tell people not to be dicks, and yet, you know, don't let people film. So then, great comedians can come in and really kind of like let loose, and because you know, you want a comedian to feel safe enough to make a mistake on stage, to learn a thing, like to find, because a lot of times you're fumbling your way to something that ends up being like a comedic breakthrough, so to speak, or in a goat, or you know, if Chris Rock coming on stage to figure something new out that he's working, he has to have the freedom to feel like not everybody's watching him. You know, like that doesn't. You don't get the really cool, profound thoughts without being able to fuck up on the way. Like,
right.
You know, nobody's just brilliant. It's usually working up to brilliance. So they curate a very cool environment like that, and I think that's part of the reason why it's still held in such high regard. Because it is a place like that. Like they don't. No, you can't film this. This is, you just have to live in this fucking moment, and you know, don't be a dick. Have a couple cocktails, maybe some chicken tendies, whatever. You know?
I love a couple cocktails and some tendies. You have any good stories about having to kick anybody out or anything like that?
I mean, usually if anybody gets kicked out of the Comedy Store, like they're usually just too fucking drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have had a couple of, like, we had a shooting that happened, but it wasn't at the store. It was like across the street. Nothing like that there. I mean, there's been like cool nights where just like fancy people show up, and that's always fun.
Let's talk about that. Like,
yeah, like there's been more than one night where, like, you know, you'd have like a Chappelle or somebody like that where comes in, and then another famous person there on mushrooms, and he's on stage for 3 hours, which sounds really cool, but after the 5th or 6th time that happens, you're like, okay, motherfucker, it's almost 5 a.m. I want to go home.
What's the longest Chappelle set you were there for? 3 hours?
Yeah, it was probably 3.5 hours. Mm-hmm.
And that's just him just chain smoking cigarettes the whole time and just
in a non-smoking environment building, absolutely, yeah.
would you say he's like for you? What was the coolest person that like while you're working the door that walked up?
Oh, I get more giddy for Chris Rock for sure.
And you sent him like that fucking picture you sent of him in the group chat the other day was that's like surreal. I want you to know. I want you to know that. Like,
yeah, it's not surreal for just you. It's surreal for me, and I see comedians all the time.
My question is, are you like a super geek out person? Because I mean, you've talked to me. You know that I am. Like, how do you manage that when you're fucking meeting these fucking superstars?
You just don't act like that, and you're fine.
I try my best. But
well, it's also different because it's like we do the same job, so it's a lot of times like they're put more at ease when you don't do that. Like there's still people that I fangirl out about that are like friends of mine, like people who are just brilliant to me, like Eddie Pepitone. I tell that man how much I love him every fucking time I see him, and I think there's also like an art to reading people. Like some people like that kind of shit and some people just don't, so there's like an element of that. I mean, there's also a way to tell somebody you like their shit without fangirling out,
Yeah.
And then there's just there's not a lot of people that I would genuinely geek out for. Like, there's people I adore. Like, I've had conversations with Bill Burr and stuff like that, who, when I was younger, I would have geeked out with. But now it's just like, oh, what's up, Bill? I fucking like the new tag you did or whatever. And then you're just another comedian, because that's the thing is they're still comedians.
Right. I'd say that
so I still know who they are on the inside.
Right. Like I do, but at first you're just like, oh, it's more of like a, oh, fuck. And then you try to be as cool as possible. Like 3 years ago, Bert Kreischer came to St. Louis and he, how he does his meet and greets. And he's like, all right, we're going to the bar. So we won like the meet and greet contest. So we got to meet him, and then we met him at the bar, and like Dusty Slay opened for him, and he was really funny, and we got to
he's
meet
great.
him. We got to meet him and all these people, and it's just like, okay, don't be a fucking loser right now. like compose yourself. But they were all like really nice. Like, yeah, you want to get a picture? And at the end, I was kind of hovering, like I was trying not to hover, but like trying to like, I'm just like, oh fuck, I'm at a bar and Bert Kreischer's like right there next to me. I would just like the idea of him being around, not necessarily I was like talking to him or whatever. And he turns and was like, did you need another picture or something, man? I was like, oh sure, if you're offering. But yeah, that's like the most I've geeked out. The first time you took the stage at the Comedy Store, was that like more surreal for you? Did it mean more to you because you kind of like, got your chops?
It's one of those places where it's fun every time. Like it hasn't lost, like just like to me. I mean, I'm a chick from Florida, so like that's flat. So when I moved to Los Angeles, I was never not impressed by the mountains. Like every time. And I've lived there for like 6 years now, like almost 6 years. So, and they still are majestic and wonderful to me. And I feel the same way about the store in that like it's never not cool. It's never not cool to go up in any single room. Cause like I went up and because I have the kind of energy I do, the previous talent coordinator would always give me opening spots. So I would cold open the show. So before the show starts, I would go out before the first comedian was and like get everybody together and ready and shit like that and do 5 minutes and then pass it off to the next comedian. Yeah, type 5. And so I was like, I had gotten into like I was doing a thing it's called a hat trick where I was going up in all 3 rooms in one night. And there were people that had been working there 10 years that had never done that. And I had like 3 in a matter of 6 months just because I was just always trading spots and stuff like that. I was always trying to get as much time there as I possibly could cuz I loved going up there. I loved how it felt. Yeah, I mean that place is it's amazing. It's amazing. I got nothing bad to say about it.
What are some of your other favorite places to go up?
I mean, you want to narrow it down? You mean in the whole country?
Yeah, everywhere. Anywhere.
I mean, there's a lot of places I love. I mean, all the way it's a lot. I mean, every comedian says kind of the same ones, but it's the Comedy on State in Madison, Wisconsin is incredible. The Comedy Zone in Charlotte is great. Comedy Works in Denver. I mean, there's also like, I also like a lot of indie type shows, which are like
Yeah.
at
So
bars and venues and shit like that.
I
where-
want to know that.
What's your favorite? Because you, like, last month you were in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Like, what's your favorite obscure town that, like, nobody would think that's, like, awesome? Like, where do you have one
Man.
of those?
There's way more of those shows to go through because
Right.
there's also like there's a cool room that's like pretty new, like they've only been open like a year and they're like becoming a club, but they're building the place out of a brewery and it's super rad. It's called the Laughing Tap. It's in Milwaukee and it's like run by comedians and
Hell
they're
yeah.
just fucking, they're so awesome. It's all local brews, like they care about it. Like I helped those motherfuckers paint that stage. So I feel like probably like a place like that because I was like emotionally invested in it, you know?
Nice.
But just be from the straight up from the shows, like Acme in Minneapolis, is incredible. One of the places at one of the places I actually performed with Funches, which was at Creek in the Cave in Austin. That place is great, which I'm going back to this in March. I'll be there in March. They're bringing me back to headline this time, so it's like now I get to have it at the end instead of in the middle of the show, which is
Absolutely.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, how did you and Funches meet again? Was that just through?
We met
Like-
over the pandemic. Like Ron Funches is my silver lining from this fucking pandemic. I was doing these online shows and that everybody kept turning their nose up at, and I just happened to run one that was really good, you know. And I would have these great comedians that people would normally pay fucking $25 to $50 to see at a theater or at a club or something like that, and they were willing to come and do my little show just because I treated it really seriously. There was a good vibe, there was music, there was a fucking great show happening. I curated an amazing show, and that's kind of how I met. I was through a mutual friend, Jackie Cation, hilarious comedian as well. She would come and do my shows all the time. She was running one, and then she was just like, hey, my friend Ron, and I was like, oh, I know your friend Ron. She's like, he's got to run a set for something, and he just kind of wants to try this stuff out. And I was like, sure. So then he came on. I was like, just come on, and I won't even advertise you, so there's no pressure or anything, and it won't be anybody that you're drawing. You can just do whatever you want. And he came on and just like happened to have a good time, and then like he started coming on, like had a residency. So it was like anytime he wanted to tell some jokes or just be silly or fucking heckle me while I was doing my set, like he could just he just had an open, like I had an open door policy with him. I was like, anytime you want to come on and even just work out a thought that's not even done, I was like, I would love it. I like your stand up, so it would be great. You would be adding to my show, you know? And so that's kind of how it happened. And then eventually, he was like, you should stream on Twitch because you talk so much. And I was like, I don't know. But I was like, I'm not good at video games. And he's like, plenty of people aren't good at video games and they still stream. And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't make me want to do it anymore. But,
Maybe I'd have a niche, you know.
yeah.
That is exactly what he would say, though. You talk a lot.
Yeah.
But you are incredible at transitions, my friend, because I wanted to ask you, you know, what it was like, you know, and still is like doing comedy in the pandemic. And you talked about your online shows. I've gone to, you know, a couple of them, and they are incredible.
Well, you came to shows that's not my show. That's my friend Larry's show. That's his show. I just help him. I just co-host it with him. The one I had was called Social D. That was like a show that I was producing. I was paying over. That was my show.
So, yeah, talk about that. Like, what was that like transitioning from, you know, doing stuff on stage, traveling around the country to, you know, trying to be just as funny and, you know, through a webcam. Like,
I guess there was like a little bit of a learning curve, but I was on that immediately. I was on that shit immediately because at the time, I was living at, my landlord was Maria Bamford. I lived in Maria Bamford's pool house. So she was doing them, and she told me about them, and I was like, immediately I was like, fuck yeah. So she was doing them, Jackie was doing them. We were just kind of figuring it out, and then I was like, oh, well, I know my buddies have like the thing is I couldn't once I realized this wasn't going to be quick, I was like, okay, well, I can't not do comedy or I'm going to fucking kill myself. Like, it just, like, being, and that's not even in, like, a sad way. It's just, I know that is what I need to keep it together. So I have to figure out a way to do that without being harmful. Because there were people that were going out not giving a fuck. I mean, this was, like, pre-vaccine, just genuinely not caring.
I know.
You know,
You
and
still genuinely don't fucking care. But
yeah, yeah. But they were just like, and I was like, well, I'm not there. I'm not at the desperation point where I say fuck everybody else. I got to pay my bills. So then I just kept trying this out, and there was enough people that were scared to go out, that were like, you know, this is the beginning where people genuinely weren't leaving their house for months at a time,
right.
that didn't have an out. Like, if anything, it was one of those things where, according to the government, least essential thing that I could have been doing with my life. But according to human beings, like, they were like, please, like, we need any kind of distraction from everything, how sad everything is. So then I just started doing them, and it was fun. I kind of built a cute little, like, a little audience that really loved it, and everybody kind of got to know each other, and it was kind of like how Funch built his Funch Bunch, you know, same thing on Twitch, except I was doing it, you know, on just through Zoom and social media and shit like that. It was just a completely different platform, but I don't mind them. There's a, I guess, like, a learning curve. It's easy to be apathetic when you're not in a room feeding off the energy of people, but I know how that feels, so I can put that on, you know, which I think helps taking people out of this feeling like a work meeting into I'm watching something that's entertainment, you know.
Absolutely. Is it weird? Oh, I'm sure you usually, you know, you have your headphones on or whatever. Was it weird not, like, hearing laughs, like, right back immediately
Sure,
to the
especially
joke?
because of how fast I talk. Absolutely, because I talk so fast. Come, I'm always telling people I'm like, get better internet. Come on, I need to know if I'm doing good or not. Really, you guys got to keep up with me. You have to have fiber to come to my shows. That's how fast I want to hear these fucking laughs. You know.
Oh shit. Yeah, no less than fiber. So did you have any, like, apprehension, or were you nervous to, you know, get back out on the road with all this stuff?
At first, sure, sure. But my whole thing was where I could feel comfortable is I waited until there was a vaccine readily available to everyone in the country. Like, so that was my point, is I waited till about June, I think, June or July. No, it was July of 2021 was the first time I did live stand up since the pandemic started. And that was my whole thing, is I was like, I don't care. Once it's available to you and it's only up to free will, then if you get sick, go fuck yourself, you know? And especially because, like, a lot of the clubs and stuff were, like, requiring that, and, you know, they were still separating people and shit. So it was just you kind of just picking and choosing your spots, because there were plenty of places that also didn't care since before there was one, and it was just like, so you just kind of had to pick your spots. Because there was a weekend that Ron and I were supposed to do together, and I was like, hey, based on all of the images that these motherfuckers are posting, they don't care. And this was pre all that. And then he ended up canceling the weekend because he was like, fuck that, I don't want to. And I was just like, yeah, dude, I don't think it's worth the money for the risk that these people are taking, you know?
Well, me and Ron, you know, we went to the GCW and AEW show, you know, a few months ago in Chicago, and there was a point, you know, kind of when he did the commentary, and then I was at the one where he wasn't wrestling, but it was the preview to that, where he was, you know, he got called out and he came from the commentary booth up to the ring, and then he slammed Tony Deppen, and after that, he's getting just mobbed for pictures, obviously. And he's like, dude, let's go to the back just so I can have a break from just being around people. He goes, there's too many people just coming up to me. And, you know, we were safe. We were masked up pretty much the whole time. We had a pretty funny story about a wrestler in the back, like, coming up to us who was proceeding to tell Ron about how he was half vaxxed, like he had only gotten his first shot and he couldn't go somewhere because he wasn't fully vaccinated yet. And Ron had his mask on his neck, so like Ron's trying to pull his mask up like over his face
while this guy's talking to him
as slightly as possible.
Yeah.
So he did it in like 3 motions. Like he goes one, and then like he looks around, and it's like I'm sitting right next to him, like trying not to laugh in this fucking dude's face because I'm like. And then Ron looks over at me and he goes, half vaxxed, huh? I just lost it. But yeah, I'm always curious about that because it's just like, this is how you guys pay your bills. This is your livelihood is traveling around the country. And I just can't imagine you just not being able to, right? It's just,
yeah.
Right. And,
yes, right.
What was that feeling like?
It sucked, Andy. What the fuck do you think it felt like?
No. That was my question. There was a pause there. And of course it fucking sucked. What was the feeling like first time back on stage after that? How long,
Oh my God, dude, I was so high. I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep that night. I was so high. The first show I did was a secret show. First show I did back was a secret show. I was in DC visiting a friend of mine, and another friend of mine, a comedian, was in DC, and he just happened to text me while I was there, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm in town." See, and he goes, "You should come out." And I was like, "I'm not really going out. She's got a baby. She just had a baby." And he goes, "I promise, it'll be fine. You won't be around anybody." And I was like, "All right." So there was like this, it was like a house that was about to be remodeled. So it was like a completely empty house. And then they just set up chairs in this big ass fucking living room that was like an old colonial style home. Like it was just big ass, like open floor plan. Had all these chairs set up, and they had a door right by the stage. So you could just walk in, go on stage, and walk off. And he goes, "It'll be super fun. I'll tell him." And I was like, all right. I was like, "I just haven't been on stage though, man. I don't know how good." He's like, "Oh, dude, don't even worry about it." He goes, "I'll give you 30 seconds. You'll be immediately back to yourself." And boy, if he wasn't right. My friend John Conroy, another very funny comedian. So we would go to the secret place. You can't even get the address until you buy a ticket, that type of shit. And speakeasy style, because you weren't supposed to be doing this. This was I was being bad. And
bad Natties.
I was being bad Natties, and I went bad. I was and I was so fucking. You couldn't talk to me. I felt so fucking good about myself. Oh my God, the biggest cunt in the world could have shown up, and there would have been no way. You could not have deflated the balloon that I had going on. There was just no way. It was so good. It was so good.
Do you get fucked up at all before you go on stage? Are you a sober stage person? You have any cocktails? I mean,
yeah, I don't really like to go on stage fucked up unless I'm doing like a themed show. My buddy Billy runs this rad show called the Gateway Show, where he travels the country doing it, where usually in places where it's like either legal or at the very least medicinal. He'll do these comedy shows where he brings like 3 or 4 comedians, and they all do a set sober, and then you have to do like 5 or 6 dabs back to back to back, eat an edible, smoke a joint. Yeah, dude, you have to do all of these not drugs, but all of this marijuana, and then go up and do a set again. And like, I'm probably the comedian he's used most, just because I can handle my shit. So he knows he can put me up at the end. Like, no matter how ripped I get, I can still do the job, because he's had people on the show that have never smoked weed before that do the show, and then they get perform high. They've never performed high, because it is different. I remember when I was younger in comedy, and all of the comics that I hung out with, they all smoked weed, and like they had all been doing it for years, so they were already good at it. They were already comfortable with themselves being high on stage. And initially, like, I just was not. I would bomb so bad, just because Yeah, I would just get nervous. I was just scared that they weren't gonna like me. Now, whenever I'm high, I just always assume everybody gets everything I'm talking about.
Oh,
Um,
I mean, you've heard me talk, and everybody else in Discord's like, "What? What did you say, Fudge? Huh?" Uh, no,
yeah,
that's
so it's a so now it's that's like just like another learned skill, like just like going on stage, learning how to be yourself on stage. There's another learning how to be yourself on stage while you're high, and like so my sweet spot to get the primo fucking is she making all this shit up as she's going right now? Probably. To get that version of me, it's usually one like two cocktails and a one hitter is my that's my like perfect combination.
you're
That's
speaking
it.
the language. You're speaking the language, dude. Absolutely. So
That's when I'm like loose enough and comp, so the weed gives me like the oh everybody is gonna come along for this, and then the cocktail is like and you're gonna do it real good. Like it's just like a perfect combination that makes like the elevated creativity and then the confidence boost that booze always does.
there is honestly like the 2 drink buzz, like when you're 2 drinks in, especially a night like this. Like honestly, I've never. I mean, I've never gone on stage or done comedy or anything like that. But like, there has to be like you're excited, you're buzzed, getting ready to go on stage. But it's like your first 2 drinks when it's a big night, you're excited, and maybe all your buddies are back in town for some shit like that. Like that the first 2 drinks, and then you add a one hitter into that. If I could just have that buzz for like my entire life,
Yeah,
like
it's perfect.
like you just absolutely cannot beat
I
it
can't
at
talk.
all. What would you
Yeah, it's a
say,
perfect combination.
what would you say the weirdest room you've ever gone up in is? Because
The weirdest? I
like
mean, there's been
like
a lot of like I've done too many shows. Yeah, I've just done too many shows. There's been plenty of weird shows. There was a Russian woman that got kicked out of my show while the entire audience chanted USA at her. That one was pretty weird. There's a show that a guy willingly admitted that he fucked a goat happened at that show. There's a show that somebody had a seizure in the middle. There is a show like all kinds of weird shit happens. There was a show that I did that had a fucking infant at it. I mean, what jokes do you do for that? What jokes do you do for 0 to 6 months? You know?
well, I guess I'm not bringing a little fun
Jingling
to this
keys.
show. Hey, buddy. Oh, that's funny as hell.
So there's just a fuck ton of them.
Yeah, I've only got a couple more questions for you. So what would you say the biggest thing that comedy has taught you? Like, what have you learned the most from comedy?
Oh, probably. It's definitely made me. I mean, a bunch of things. It's made me better at manipulation. It's made me. It's made me better at navigating social situations. It's made me happy. it's it's what else? It's just fucking cool. I think that's the thing is
It is. It's really fucking cool.
it is because the thing when you break it down, it's the reason it's so cool to me is because it's the idea of having thoughts that people are willing to pay for. Like
Right.
people are willing to like you can love or hate Dan Whitney, i.e. Larry the Cable Guy, but that guy's thoughts bought him a fucking farm.
If it works, it works. Like
You know,
game recognized game, right? At that point,
yeah,
right?
Jerry Seinfeld, people like Jerry Seinfeld's thoughts so much they bought him a fleet of sports cars. It's the same thing with
What's the deal with airline food?
yeah, exactly, all of that.
So I mean, I'm not calling either of those guys hacks because I mean they're 2 of the most legendary comedians ever. I mean Larry the Cable Guy, but
What he did was pretty fucking
What he did
legendary.
was pretty fucking
Yeah.
legendary. How quick can you tell that someone's a hack? Let's say you're on a show, like, can you tell by their opening, their first joke, that's like, oh yeah, this is bullshit?
Sure. I mean, it also, like, I guess depends on what you think a hack is. What does the word hack mean to you?
I mean, just like corny jokes, just, like a catchphrase or some shit like that. Like, I don't know. I mean, you could tell me as a comedian probably what the more definition of like a hacky comedian is, right? But like, I just see somebody that I don't know, just like I don't want to say stolen jokes, but it's like shit
I
you
mean,
see
that's
on Twitter or
the
whatever.
most direct definition of a hack is somebody who doesn't do their own material. They do either stock jokes or somebody else's jokes or something
Right.
like that. But that word, it has now like enveloped the idea of somebody being corny, of somebody just being like disingenuous or you just being kind of trite or tired of just doing a topic to the like my wife she fucking buys so many shoes, like that, or like black people and white people are different, or like every Mexican person sounds like this, like all of those kind of trite ideas that we've already heard for since the beginning of comedy. It's like, why are you saying something we've already, like, give me something that you thought.
Right.
That's not already a thing.
That's my question. It's like, do you still see that a lot?
Oh,
I guess
yeah,
that's probably a
sure.
better question.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because here's the thing, Andy, is not only smart people do stand up,
Oh,
there's plenty of dumb people that do stand up. So they're not going to think about things as much to get to a cooler thing. They're going to make a basic observation and then talk about that,
right.
you know?
So one person I want to ask you about is Joey Diaz, because he is an absolute legend. I know he's a good friend of yours.
Hmm.
Can you just talk about like what he's like, and like his posts on Twitter are some of my favorite tweets ever, because he always ends it with "Let's have a date, cocksuckers," or some
Hmm.
shit like that, and then he's like eating like 500 milligrams of edibles, and
Yeah.
I just want to be his friend, and I want to know what it's like to be his friend.
He's great. He's that guy.
Yeah.
He's that guy off stage, off mic. He's just that, but more subtle. How you
Mhm.
doing? How's it going? How's your mother? All that shit. All that shit's the same, you know. But for me, he'll usually be talking to me in Spanish because he likes to have somebody to practice with, you know. But he still is. He's genuinely doing all those drugs, and he's genuinely not giving a fuck. And like, I love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
that's so
Um,
great.
he really does have To energy, Uncle energy, you know.
Really, for sure. 'Cause I knew what TO means, okay? I know I'm very white. You see my skin, but I did get a D in Spanish 4 in high school. So
Ooh, you made it to 4.
I made
Very
it to
nice.
4 and almost failed it. So anyway,
But I
Carmen,
have a huge soft spot for him because he was like, when I was just like started being a door guy there, he had me on his podcast, and then like to this day, people
yeah,
still
I've
talk
seen that.
about
Like
that. Hmm.
before I met you, I've seen that podcast, and when I
Hmm.
finally met you and put it together, that like, uh, oh, that
Oh,
was
you're that fucking
yeah,
bitch.
dude. Like I before we like I want you to realize like how much I appreciate that, like our friendship, and like I don't I'm not like an insider or anything, but it just feels it's really cool how much you share with me and everybody else about like, what's going on, the industry and comedy. I'm just really thankful that I get to, call you and Ron and whoever else, One Long and all them friends. Like that's what I'm most thankful. The pandemic sucked, but like you said, it brought you to Ron. It brought me to the Funch Bunch. Brought us all together. Brought us
Hmm.
to this episode of the podcast. It brought
Episode
us
100, ladies and gentlemen.
100.
100.
100. And it brought us to maybe the best nickname I've ever heard, and that's my last question: is Big Natties your favorite nickname you've ever had?
I've never really had a lot of nicknames. I mean, I've always had silly ones, like my buddy Sean calls me Chicken Carm, like shit like that.
I like chicken carp.
Yeah. My buddy Kenneth from high school, he always used to call me Lucky Carms. like Lucky Charms. He always used to call me that. I mean, I haven't had a lot of them. Big Natties is definitely the most descriptive one I think I've ever had.
If I'm anything, I'm descriptive. Oh my God. Well, Carmen, this has been incredible. I kept you longer than I told you I was going to, but
That's okay.
it was great. Before we go, let's plug anything and everything you. So at the Funny Carmen everywhere, your any dates you have coming up, your special,
I have so many dates.
your Twitch, all of the podcast. One of my favorite podcasts, which you should definitely check out.
Yes, please do. Check out the podcast. It's at No Sir Pod. I usually have somebody on and we just talk about shit we don't like. You'd be surprised how passionate people could talk about raisins. It's amazing to me what gets people riled up. It's always so funny. And it's fun, you know. Somebody just ranting about being in a group chat or fucking furious about how people park. Like, it's just amazing the things that set people off to me. And so yeah, at No Sir Pod on all the things. I'm on every place you can get a podcast. So make sure you guys listen to that. I also have, come see me live. I do stand up everywhere, literally everywhere. I'm going to Wichita, Kansas. Valentine's Day. Oh my God, come and see me with your hubby, you and Bae. Come check me out.
Couples of Wichita, watch out.
Yep. Jeez. 14, 17, and 19, I'm in Wichita. Like I said, I'm going to be at the Creek in the Cave in Austin, Texas on March 25th and 26th. I'm going to be at the Star Dome in Birmingham, Alabama, March 10th. I'm going to be at the Alameda Comedy Club, which is in San Francisco, on April 6th and 7th, 8th and 9th, 7th and 9th, something like that.
Somewhere in April.
I'll be in Chattanooga, Tennessee, of all places, March 11th and 12th. But just go to CarmenMorales.com for all of your Carmen Morales needs. You can see where I am there. Follow me on all the assorted social media. Follow me on Twitch. I do Twitch, and I play video games, and I talk shit much like this. But while I'm dying over and over again on whatever game I'm playing.
What the fuck? I didn't see them. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm dead again.
How do I get out of here? That's my favorite Twitch capture. How do I get out of here? She said, staring at a wall. So twitch.tv/The Funny Carmen. The Funny Carmen on everything. It's my Venmo if you're a rich person. You can send me money on Venmo. Yeah.
She knows a thing or two about making some money on
cash.
Well, this has been episode 100 of the Brew Party Podcast.
The centennial episode of the Brew Party Podcast.
Featuring Big Natties herself, Carmen Morales. Check her out on HBO MAX coming in April. Check her out on the road, any of those dates. Seriously, listen to the No Sir podcast. No, sir, I don't like it. And edited by our good friend Zanoni. What a guy.
What a pal, what a friend.
What a pal, what a friend. Anywhere you get your podcast, follow her on Twitter, follow her wherever you get your social media at The Funny Carmen. Anyway, we are out of here. Episode 100 of the Brew Party Podcast. Find us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search The Brew Party, youtube.com/The Brew Party. Apple, Spotify, Google, all that good stuff. Just go to www.thebrewparty.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Brew Party. Follow us on Facebook at The Brew Party Podcast, not Fodcast. Jesus Christ. Anyway, we're here. Thank you so much to Carmen Morales for being here. Thank you to everybody that's been here, whether you've been here from episode 1 or you just started. Join the party. We're going big, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Brew Party Podcast. We are out of here. Episode 100.